Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 are the best story-based games of all time in my opinion. Now, I know some people in the comment section will probably attack me for liking The Last of Us Part 2 or just fill the comment section with this game is better or that game is way better than The Last of Us Part 2. But honestly, to those people saying this, I hear you, I just don't care. I don't care because these two games are one of my favorite games of all time, and if you don't want to hear some random dude on the internet get personal and emotional discussing about these games, especially The Last of Us Part 2, well, there's the door. There's no need for disrespect. Now, for those who have decided to stay and are actually interested in hearing what I feel about these two games, thank you. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll try my best to tell you guys why The Last of Us, and especially The Last of Us Part 2, changed my life in ways I never expected. The Last of Us, in my opinion, contains the best story ever told in video games. By Naughty Dog consciously choosing not to focus on the plot of the story like most generic films and games have done for decades, and instead decided to shift the main focus of the game on its characters, primarily Ellie and Joel. This made The Last of Us Part 1 become one of the most grounded, immersive, and emotional games of all time. And we see this come into motion when The Last of Us starts. Taking control as Sarah in the beginning of the game when the fungal infection started to spread like wildfire was genius by the developers back at Naughty Dog, because by the time you take control of Joel for the first time, you as the player already connected with Sarah by controlling her and seeing everything in her points of view. You are as scared as Sarah is, seeing the world burn with your own very eyes, not knowing what's going to happen next. That's why when you have Joel now, you want to protect your little girl, you want her to be safe. And that's why when you meet the soldier that was told by the higher ups to kill anyone in the outer perimeters and proceeds to shoot Joel and Sarah, you are truly scared for them. And honestly, thank God that Tommy was there because he saved Joel's life. But shamefully, he came way too late because one of those bullets shot Sarah in the stomach. And right then and there, we experienced one of the most heartbreaking scenes in gaming history.
Listen to me, I know this hurts, baby. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. Alright, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby, I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby, I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on. No. No. No, no, no. Please. 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 Please don't do this. Please.
That was only in the first 18 minutes of a 10 to 12 hour video game, and we already experienced one of the most brutal and intense scenes in gaming history. A kid died in our arms because of the world of The Last of Us, and that was only the beginning of what lies ahead, which was more loss, pain, and suffering. 20 years after the events of the outbreak day, and we once see Joel again, but now as a cruel, ruthless old man that did anything he possibly could in order to survive. And then the game introduces us to Ellie, an outspoken yet innocent and naive little kid with the biggest heart you'll ever see. She kind of gives vibes of Joel's deceased daughter, Sarah, and because of that, you see this depressed old man just brush Ellie aside at any chance he gets because he doesn't want to run the chance by connecting with her in any possible way. It wasn't until the scene in which Joel finally trusts Ellie with a rifle that you finally see both of them actually trusting and actually connecting with each other. Before, you had little instances in which they talked, and of course they were forced to protect each other and they had to talk and all those things, But you have Joel now making efforts in basically trying to trust Ellie, which in result, it made him open up to Ellie little by little. I love that almost every scene in this game makes sure to focus primarily on the main characters, and honestly, in every moment that Ellie and Joel are present, it feels personal and incredibly immersive. I found these parts of the game very compelling because when I first tried the game out back in 2013, I wasn't particularly in the best mental state. I was alone in almost every sense. Yeah, I had my parents, but we were passing through a rough patch as a family. Adding that to the fact that in that point in my life, I was kind of just a loner. I had no friends, and I was always bullied at school growing up. I was socially awkward and just never knew how to interact with people, and some people just thought I was just a weird guy and ghosted me instead of trying to understand me. I learned to hate people rather than just giving others a chance, and I pushed so many people away because of the traumas I have experienced growing up in a toxic environment at home and in school. So by seeing Joel and Ellie, two strangers who don't know each other and little by little started to love and care for each other in a world like The Last of Us, that truly amazed me and made me a bit jealous in a way. I wanted something like that, and I wanted it more and more every time I played this game. Seeing Joel starting to open up to Ellie to the point of caring for her in the later sections of the game truly made me feel like if this man, somebody who lost everything, somebody who had way more trauma than what I will probably ever have in my life, is learning to love again, I think I might have a shot at loving again as well. That's why I always get emotional every time I see the ranch scene, because I see this broken man finally realizing that he cares for Ellie and that she cares for him as well. That's why I feel emotional when I see Joel hugging Ellie after she manages to kill David, showing how Joel completely opens up to Ellie and starts to love her like his own daughter. That's why I cry most of the time when I see Ellie and Joel pet that giraffe, because they have come a long way from not knowing each other to now loving each other like father and daughter. And that's why I feel incredibly emotional when I see Joel deciding to kill most of the fireflies and the surgeon in order to rescue Ellie, no matter if that came at a cost for humanity. This game truly is one of the most grounded games I have honestly ever experienced in my life, showing humanity at its worst, but at the same time showing what we humans do for true love.
I got you. Oh shit. Shit.
Over here.
I'm getting you out of here, girl. I got you. I got you. Come on. Tell me which way.
Around the other side.
We're okay. We're okay.
Now. I got him on my flight. I said get back. Hey, stop.
This game changed the way I viewed my life, because it showed me that no matter how hard life gets, no matter how many people hurt you or leave you, no matter if you're alone, one day love will find its way to you if you choose to break down those barriers and learn to open up again, no matter the pain and suffering you might have gone through in your past. Like I said before, I felt like I was a loner. I had no true friends, and most friends that I thought I had either betrayed me or I just disassociated with them because they chose paths that ruined their lives. I was always bullied in school and suffered a lot growing up with barely anyone to care for. Then after playing this game, I felt emotionally vulnerable to just put myself out there, and because of that, I became best friends with two incredible human beings that I consider to this day to be brothers to me. And then I met the love of my life, who is now my wife. All because I gave myself another chance to love again. I truly relate to these characters in ways I never thought I would. That's why I appreciate the work Naughty Dog has done in making a special game like The Last of Us. That is why I make sure to experience this game again and again and again every single time I have a chance to. I just can never forget how a video game completely changed my life forever and helped me to learn what most of this world shamefully lacks: the ability to love and trust again. The Last of Us Part 2 changed my life as well. But honestly, I would be lying to myself and to you guys if I say that this game did not impact me more than the first The Last of Us. Even if the focus of the first game is absolutely perfection in my eyes, and the second game does suffer a little bit from some pacing issues and structural issues if you base it more on traditional ways of storytelling, The Last of Us Part 2 completely changed the way I view and interact with the world and grew to appreciate our imperfections and our differences in our views, morals, and humanity. It made me question my own humanity, my own morals, my views, my feelings, my personal bias when it comes to certain events that happen in this game. It made me go through a bag of emotions that honestly no game has ever done before. And it all started with Joel's death in the first hours of the game that tested me like nothing has ever tested me before. Because Joel is not just a beloved character by the gaming community, but he is my favorite character in video game history because of what the first game means to me.
You stupid old man. You don't get to rush this.
I felt anger, disgust, a plethora of emotions I honestly never felt before. I was crying my eyes out like I lost my own father. I wanted to avenge Joel. I was just like Ellie. I was not thinking of anything else apart from finding this bitch Abby and destroy her into little pieces, just like how she destroyed my heart into little pieces by killing Joel. I was filled with hate and vengeance in my heart, to the point where I didn't actually feel bad at first by killing anyone that crossed my path. I just wanted Abby to die. The flashback scene in which Ellie and Joel are in a museum of dinosaurs and space only intensified my hate and anger to find and kill Abby. Because this is what she took away from us, a man that has done cruel things just to survive, but honestly won our hearts when he slowly learned how to love again with Ellie. But even through all those emotions that I was feeling, when Ellie tortured Nora to find out where Abby was, I was there, falling into darkness alongside with Ellie. But at the same time, I started to question Ellie and how far she is taking this. That action of torturing a person isn't the Ellie I remembered from part 1. She actually resembles the same attitude Abby had when torturing Joel, which truly concerned me and made me feel divided and confused. But honestly, I still didn't question it enough because I still had the mindset to kill Abby. Seeing Ellie all shaken up when she arrived at the theater after what she did, with a face of disgust that basically says, "Did I just do that?" That really shook me to the core. Not only is Ellie losing herself because of her obsession for Abby, but I, myself, feel dirty because I'm the one who pushed Square to torture Nora, and I'm the one who was okay with that at that time. And things just get worse by day 3, when Ellie prefers to go to the aquarium to locate Abby instead of going somewhere where Tommy might be. You can see Jesse is stunned by Ellie's obsession and leaves her to save Tommy instead. Ellie is now driving down a cliff straight into darkness, straight into a mental state she has never experienced before, and also into a state that many of us, if we go down there, we never come back from. And that is perfectly portrayed when Ellie finds Owen and Mel, and not Abby, and proceeds to try and interrogate them about Abby's location, the same way Joel did to the two cannibals in the first game. But just like Ellie has shown throughout the entirety of her days in Seattle, and in the process of her descent to darkness, her lack of control and calmness, something Joel did have, which made him intimidating and effective, came to bite Ellie in the ass when she gets emotional and loses control of the situation, and then is forced to shoot Owen and kill Mel. Only to realize in that moment that Ellie has ended the lives not just of two people that tried to kill her, but also of an innocent unborn child as well. I completely lost it there. I was going through so many emotions in my head. I just knew in that moment, after what Ellie just did, killing Abby was just not worth it anymore. It's not worth losing your own sanity to the point of even killing a pregnant lady, even though she didn't even know she was pregnant. Her obsession caused all of this chaos, and if Abby had to live just to return home, recuperate mentally, and not lose yourself even more, you know what? Why not? But honestly, life isn't that simple. Whatever you do in life will without a doubt come back with you with consequences, and that is exactly what happened with Ellie. Abby appears, and my heart is honestly at 1,000,000 per second. With seeing Abby shooting Jesse and Tommy hurt on the floor, I immediately forget about all the experiences I had with Ellie. I immediately forget about just me going back home, me forgetting about this, and my hatred for Abby comes back once again. This was finally the moment that we all were waiting for. Our revenge right now, it's here. But instead, Naughty Dog said, "Fuck you. You're going to play as Abby now and experience her perspective of those 3 days you spent with Ellie." What a punch on my mental stability this truly was. If I was considering therapy by only experiencing Ellie's side of the story, imagine how I felt when I realized the game wanted me to play as the bitch I hated and wanted dead. I lost it and completely just said, you know what? I'm done with this game. I dropped my controller and went to sleep. I was considering not finishing the game because I had absolutely no interest in opening myself up to the possibility of even liking or just simply trying to understand a character I hated. But I told myself, hey, you know what? I already spent the $60 for this game. Might as well just see what happens next. During my first playthrough, naturally, I was not vibing with Abby at all. The more I played with Abby, the more I was thinking, when are we going to go back to the theater so I can kill her? But of course, because I am playing as Abby, experiencing her perspective, I become a little bit more sympathetic with her after realizing that the reason why she tortured and killed Joel was because Joel killed her own father, who was the surgeon who was going to try and extract a vaccine by killing Ellie. But I still hated her, of course. I mean, how can you just forget what she did to Joel? She did something cruel to somebody I cared about, so fuck her. It wasn't until the end of day 1 when Abby meets Owen in the aquarium that things started to change a little bit. When Abby and Owen are having a conversation about why Owen protected a Seraphite and ended up killing one of his own WLF members, it truly shocked me a little bit in that moment. Owen couldn't kill his own enemy because the Seraphite was an old man that just gave up and claimed to just be done and tired with all this war and this constant killing of each other. He told Owen just to kill him. This showcases one of the first times in this game which we are, as the audience, are exposed to a moment in which two people are actually communicating with each other, leaving their own tribalistic mentalities and tendencies aside, and manage to understand each other as human beings that are just blinded by our own surroundings and those who we choose to associate with. Danny lost his life because he couldn't separate his loyalties and tribalistic mentality for just 1 second and give mercy to a man that just gave up. You can see that Abby understands a little bit, but she isn't there yet. She continues to insist to Owen to come back to the WLFs, showcasing that her loyalties are more important to her right now than her own loved ones' mental health and happiness. And because she is acting this way, she tells Owen to grow up when he suggests that he wants to leave the WLF and try to find the remaining Fireflies who might be located in Santa Barbara. And Owen responds with this.
Sorry I grew up. You should try it.
Oh yeah? How do I do that? Should I go find the people that killed my family? Cut into them? I could torture them until they're crying, you know?
Owen called Abby out on her hypocrisy and completely exposed her to the point where she attacks Owen, but quickly realizes he's right. Because of her obsession to find Joel and kill him and actually become successful in doing so, she actually lost everything and gained absolutely nothing. In the process, she didn't make her nightmares go away. She realizes now that she lost the one person she truly loved to another person. She is now more broken and alone than ever, and she only has herself to blame for it. She is now empty. Abby starts to grow on me from this moment on. The things Owen told Abby truly cut deep into her heart, because the next day she then returns the favor to Yara and Lev by saving them, because both Yara and Lev saved Abby from being killed by the Seraphites the night before, even though they are considered enemies with each other. This shows a contrast of the current Abby and the Abby who was filled with obsession and hatred and decided to torture and kill Joel, even though he saved her life and was of course the enemy in her eyes. Abby starts to grow as a character, seeking for redemption for what she did. In this process, she learns to understand why Owen did what he did. She learned with Lev how dangerous having a tribalistic mentality can be, because it blinds you to the point in which you see others as just the enemy. And when that happens, there is less of a chance to actually openly communicate with each other and try to understand each other. That causes severe division to the point in which even killing each other is normal, and that's okay because we just don't understand each other, so let's just kill each other, just because a group hates one another or vice versa. By Abby speaking with Lev, she realized we are all one, no matter where we come from. The war between the WLF and the Seraphites actually represents perfectly the constant fighting and division that we people experience in the real life right now in society. All you gotta do is actually just sit down with those people who have different views from you, like Abby did with Lev, and if you do your actual best to listen and understand them and vice versa, soon we will quickly realize we aren't as bad as we think we are and different from each other. We just suffer from being influenced by those who we grew up with or decide to associate with. That is why when Abby told this to Lev when she decided to betray her group to protect Lev instead.
Oh my god, she's gone. Come on. Those were your fucking people. You're my people.
I grew to actually respect Abby after that. She has something I couldn't do for the longest time. She outgrew her group because she realized that they're just as blind as she used to be. They act in a tribalistic mentality, villainizing anyone who is not part of their group. This right here taught me to leave my personal bias aside, to try to understand those who may have different views or perspective from my own. Through Abby's section, I realized how hypocritical I was acting. I was okay with Ellie killing anyone that gets in my way because I wanted to kill Abby and avenge Joel, but with Abby, I was not okay in the beginning for what she did. Even though I realized why she killed Joel in the first place, I still did not want to connect with her. I still wanted to kill her. My connection with Joel was so big, I didn't care to understand Abby at all. And honestly, subconsciously, I excused Joel for his actions in the first game and fully villainized Abby in this game. And honestly, that's only natural because we human beings are kind of wired that way. But the good thing is that by the end of the game, I was fully on Abby's side by the end of her section, only to then remember the horrors I did with Ellie during those 3 days, because then Abby arrives to the aquarium and finds Mel and her beloved Owen dead on the floor. I was incredibly divided in that point because I grew to care for Abby, but now I know Ellie and Abby's showdown is now inevitable. The hardest thing for me in this game was this game forcing me to fight Ellie as Abby. I just wanted to drop my controller and not do anything. I wanted them to stop, but this game forced me not to stop. I was going through so many emotions and I was just scared for both of their lives. It was truly one of the most intense showdowns I have ever played before because I cared for these two. I cared for Abby and Ellie. I thought Abby was going to kill Dina because of course she overpowers Dina and Ellie, and if it wasn't for Lev, Abby could have done it. Honestly, it was very intense to see. She could have avenged Mel by killing Dina, who was pregnant. She almost fell back to her former self because of how hatred and the thirst for revenge can easily blind us. You can know what the right thing is to do, but sometimes your emotions can overpower you no matter who you are and make you do the incorrect decision. So what Abby does is she realizes that what she's going to do is just not the way. So she decided to break the cycle of hatred and vengeance between the both of them by letting Ellie and Dina live. Ellie and Abby moved on, and we see Ellie now living the life she and Dina discussed that they wanted to have back when they were in Seattle. They have a farmhouse, they have a beautiful family with JJ, they are happy and they have everything they need to live a healthy life. But yet again, life isn't that simple. You don't just move on easily from traumas. Ellie suffers from PTSD, and with Tommy's visit later on, Ellie can't take it anymore. She can't sleep. She can't truly be happy. She tried to move on, but she can't. Her obsession destroys everything Ellie loves, just like the obsession that Abby had destroyed everything she loved. Ellie tracks Abby down one more time, only to find her completely weakened and prepared to die. Yes, Ellie seeing her in that condition makes her feel a little bit of sympathy for her and almost lets her go. But yet again, obsession kicks in, and Ellie's humanity is now about to be thrown away, just like Abby threw away her humanity by getting her revenge. Ellie had to lose Dina, JJ, her mother's switchblade, her 2 fingers, which destroys the only connection she had left with her father figure Joel, the ability to basically play the guitar. Ellie had to lose all of that just to realize at the end that killing Abby was never, ever going to fix anything. That killing Abby was not going to bring Joel back. It was not going to make anything better. It was only going to make things worse. By killing Abby, she would become a monster, just like Abby became a monster when she killed Joel. So instead, Ellie lets go of Abby and rescued the little bit of humanity she had left in her. Ellie did what most of us who hated Abby wouldn't do. Ellie, in that moment, preferred to make sure the cycle of hatred and vengeance is now destroyed for good. Even though it cost her everything, she can at least now live in peace, knowing that she did the right thing. This game is not about revenge is bad, don't do it. It's about showcasing the true aspects of humanity, to showcase how obsession and hatred can turn even the best people we know and love into people we will not recognize. This game showcased how having a tribalistic mentality by being so loyal to your own groups, that can be your family, your friends, or any other group, can be extremely dangerous if you're not careful enough. It can blind you so much that you can even hate others for no reason just to stay loyal with your people. By not recognizing this, we can potentially just ignore those who are just trying to communicate with us, and instead we attack them because they have different points of views from us. This game tested my own personal bias to the point in which I can say right now that I feel like a changed man. This game has changed my life to the point where no matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe in, if we can just sit down and have a respectful conversation about our differences and actually become interested in what we view in life and why we are so different from each other, it honestly will be a pleasure to do that, because for me at least, I will get the opportunity to learn from everyone, and at the same time, it will create unity instead of division. And because of this, I decided to keep doing YouTube and try my hardest to create a community where we can all respect each other, no matter what. No matter if you are conservative, liberal, neutralist, Christian, atheist, whatever. You deserve to be heard, you deserve to be respected, and you deserve to be loved. Subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and remember to hit that notification bell to get notified on my future videos. Stay positive, stay safe, endure and survive, and I'll see you guys next time.